What's up, everyone? My name is Blue, and we are back with some ProRevenge stories. Just the top tier of dishes best served cold. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to our channel, and with that, let's get into it. Huge revenge on an awful boss that fired me during the pandemic. 2020 was an awful year for me. Among many other things, I was fired by the place I worked at for over 3 years. It was not a nice, fancy job by any means. I was just a store manager at a small business that was still run like a mom and pop shop, despite the owner not living close enough for it to truly be mom and pop run. To compensate for not being able to be in each store every day, the owner insisted on getting updates from every store 3 times per day. As you would expect, while the business grew to about 17 locations across many states, the owner could never remember who said what or what was even said. It became too much for the owner, which created a lot of miscommunication issues within the company. Every manager was having to deal with this, but it was a bit tougher for locations like mine because we were slower. So the owner didn't care about our store as much unless they were pissed. They didn't have to be pissed at me, but if I was next on the phone, I was absolutely screwed. I could outperform our goal and it still wasn't good enough. Not an exaggeration, as it happened many times. It had been this way forever, but it got especially bad leading up to me getting fired because of new hires screwing up at multiple different locations. So, for nothing but poor timing, multiple other managers and I found ourselves on thin ice, even though we did not house any of these new hires. The owner, during the pandemic, was constantly bragging about how the business was doing even better actually this past year than any other. But then, a week after their latest brag, they informed me that I would be taking a pay cut to match the other store managers for the week I had just worked. Illegal to cut my pay after I have already worked it, and going forward. Naturally, I asked why, as I created their website and online store and was doing all website work for them, which is what led to my pay raise. When I asked, the owner made excuses saying that it's not fair that I get paid more than other managers. So I reminded them that I'm doing more work than the other managers. They then make an excuse and say that it's because of COVID-19, so they can't afford my wage. I reminded them about the constant emails about how we are outperforming last year and that I am already taking a pay cut because my hours have gone down due to curfews. They got frustrated and said, "Why are you arguing with me? You will get paid the same as other managers." I frustratedly said, "Fine, but I am not doing the website if I'm not getting paid for it." After this, the owner got pissed and, long story short, fired me. My financial security went out the window and I was panicking to make it through and barely did. Until these past few weeks, I had only $30 to my name outside of money for rent, and I was barely scraping by because of groceries and other bills. My direct superior was furious with the owner and defended me, which almost cost them their job as well. Fast forward to when this happened. I get another email reminding me that the domain name that the owner purchased expires today, and that if I want to keep it, I have to pay. Now, let me clear something up before I go forward. I transferred everything to them when I was fired. I left trying to hold my dignity and did not make a scene. I sent every piece of info to them over email, recommended they change all passwords after my departure, and tried to send over the domain ownership to their company account. The owner refused to make an account and take ownership for the domain name, and refused to let it be held by the admin account made for the company because multiple people access that. Eventually, I gave up. The owner has been paying for this domain with their card, but on my account, forwarding the traffic to their host. Well, their card expired and could not auto-renew their domain name for 2021. Until now, I decided I would never mess with it. But now that it's back to being available for purchase to the public, my friends and I bought it together for a good laugh and a big middle finger to the up-and-coming business. Well, after a few drinks and a late night, I made the worst website that is honestly just one massive S post and then gave it the domain name. So now, the domain name that is on all of their business cards, social media accounts, emails, and business transactions with suppliers leads to a super, but safe for work, unprofessional website that has the stupidest content and worst layout possible. No names were trademarked. It is not for commercial use even if it was trademarked. And I signed nothing when I made it for them. We all had a great laugh before I crashed that night. The DNS traffic stopped forwarding to their host when I woke up the next day, and now points to my abomination of a website. And they still have yet to notice. It's still on all their social media. If my guess is correct, they won't find out until a distributor points it out to them. They check our website frequently to make sure it is quality, else they don't want their products sold on the website and may stop selling to the company. Seems like with so many companies and so many decisions, it's a decision that Ray Liotta, I think, solved best. F you, pay me. That's basically the moral of the story. Steal my iPod? F your laptop. A story from 2007. I posted this on ProRevenge, but after thinking about it, it actually may be better suited here. Imagine being in high school, back in the latter days of George Bush, and finally buying that iPod of your dreams. After saving up your allowance and the money you made around the neighborhood doing random work and lifeguarding at the local pool. Yep, that was me. And I was that D-bag 14-year-old who would make sure you knew that I had one of the better iPods, one that could play video. It was the latest Nano, if I remember right. Simpler times. But every story needs an antagonist. My sister happened to find that role many times. We are very close now, but back then, it wasn't so rosy. She was a teenager as well and spent most of those years resenting me. If I had something nice, F you for having that. I was quite protective of my precious iPod. She raised quite the S-storm when my parents refused to buy her one. Your brother saved his money. We didn't pay for it. We are not stopping you from buying one too if you save your money. That was their attitude toward any luxury that us kids wanted, even up to that time when buying a first car was on the table. We each had to buy our own. It built character and taught responsibility.